In this episode of Property Journal, I'm talking to Adam Stott. Adam is currently one of the UK's leading speakers on business, entrepreneurship, branding and coaching, particularly wealth coaching. He is a seasoned entrepreneur with first-hand experience of the highs and lows of starting and running multi-million pound businesses. He's also one of the UK's leading experts on monetising social media, which is becoming ever more popular and relevant. I can't wait to talk to Adam. Adam, welcome.
Really pleased to be here, really excited.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So tell me, who is Adam Stott?
Well, really, I'm an entrepreneur and a business owner at heart is really my main priority. But what I love to do is to train business owners, get them out of the stress and frustration and show them how to do things in an easier way. So really, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, trainer, mentor.
Wow, that's super current right now. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a very, very busy space. What's your unique selling point? What's your USP?
I think probably the most unique thing about what I do is the fact that I've run multiple businesses. I think there's a lot of people out there that train, mentor and coach, but they haven't necessarily had the experience. And having run multiple businesses, invested in multiple businesses, been through ups, been through downs, I've had a lot of experience. You know, I've been on the right side of business where I've gone and grown businesses that have made, you know, multi-8-figure businesses. I've also been in a position where I've lost businesses. So I've kind of had that experience and of all round. And what I've really been able to do, and what I'd say is quite unique about what we do, is really combine that into a plan for people to be able to follow. And we really work on 6 elements. When I work with people and I help people, one of the big things that we'll work with them on is the business owner mindset, which we really consider to be the base, the foundation of a business owner succeeding. The first thing, the business is only going to grow as much as the individual grows. And what you find a lot of the time with businesses is somebody will go out, they want to grow a business, they want to be successful, and often the business outgrows them because they've not worked on themselves, and they find themselves in a position where the business is controlling them, it's controlling their mood, controlling what they do. So we really like to work on that foundation of the business owner themselves and get them in a great, powerful position. But then we also work on marketing, branding, sales, business strategy and numbers. Right. So we give them the full profile of how do you take somebody that has got a dream, an ambition, a vision that wants to create that and give them the tools and the skills to be able to work towards their goals.
Wow, that's awesome. I imagine what you do is incredibly rewarding. And you must have some stories of some people that have come to you at whatever stage of their business journey to then massively, you know, take on board what you're saying, put it into practice. Have you got some inspiring stories?
I think that it is something I, you know, really love doing. I love helping people. Every day I get up, I never feel like I'm going to work, which is awesome, right? Ever since I started this business in 2016, I think I've found my real passion, which is a great thing for people. And for people watching, you know, they should really look to, if you find something that lights you up, that you love doing, you know, that's going to drive you and, you know, really ensure you get great results. I've helped so many people, and actually one of the things that I think is really key is a great mentor. You only really know if you're a great mentor if your clients then go on to overtake you.
Yes.
And I've been in the privileged position where I've trained people from literally start-up businesses to growing multi-million pound companies. One guy who really stands out to me, one guy that I met, had a business when I first met him, a stressed out business owner working 14 hours a day, doing 100,000 a year in revenue, now has 7 businesses, all multi-million pound companies, has built his own mansion, got a Lamborghini, a lovely guy called Palm, and, you know, someone I'm very proud of. But I've had so many people like that I've met them, they're talented people anyway. This is the thing I think about mentoring, is like if you're talented and you are driven and you've got passion and you persevere, you're probably going to get there. The only difference with mentoring is you're just going to speed it up for you. It's just going to mean you make less mistakes. Because talented people will get there eventually, but it's just, hey, how do we compress 10 years into a year? You know, or how do we compress 10 years into 3, for example? And that for me is the benefit of mentoring. Taking great people, showing them the things they might not be aware of now, and showing them how to bridge that gap.
That's interesting, because there are people in business that would almost see it as a weakness to seek help. That almost egotistical side of business, whereas actually I imagine your target demographic is very much open to the growth mindset.
I think that actually it's a really good point, and I think some people are open to it. I think some people are not open to it. You know, absolutely. I do think that is the case.
Yeah.
But actually, I think that it's one of the strongest things that you can do is, and actually one of the best things you can do from a development perspective, to say, hey, look, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
You know, I want to find out what I'm missing. And actually, the most successful people I know, my podcast, I've interviewed 300 people, as we talked about earlier, and I've interviewed A-list stars, business tycoons, dragons, billionaires, and the most successful people are humble enough and coachable enough to say, hey, you know, how can I get some help? I think there's no such thing as a self-made man or a self-made woman, because anyone that achieves success has had some help along the way. And some people will be vocal about the help they've had, some people won't. Yeah, sure. I've had a lot of coaches, a lot of mentors. I never would have been able to create the things that I've been able to do had I not had the right guidance and advice. So, you know, I think it's really important.
No, totally. So take me back to a young Adam Stott, looking at what you're going to do with your life. You're clearly motivated, driven, you've been successful. But at what point was that built into you as a natural ability, or did it grow from starting to achieve a certain amount of success and then you got momentum? So just talk me through that earlier journey.
Absolutely. I think that it's definitely not, I would not call myself a natural. I wouldn't call myself a natural business person or anything like that, to be honest. Okay. If I take you all the way back to sort of growing up, you know, I grew up in, you know, nice family and nice detached house and in a nice position, you know, my mum, my dad, my three brothers. And there was a bit of a catalyst that I think when I look back as to what really helped me get that fire in the belly, the drive. And I think my dad, back in the 90s, lost absolutely everything. So we went from living in a lovely detached home with nice cars, private school, to actually living in a transport cafe, because that's all we had left when my mum and dad got divorced.
How old are you at this point?
So about 9, 10 years old.
Right, okay.
So we went from a lovely place to actually losing everything. And the only thing left in the bankruptcy was an old transport cafe that my mum got given. Now, my mum had never run a business at this stage. My mum and dad divorced, and my mum then took this business. We had to live in the back, so we had a very small sort of bungalow at the back of it and a transport cafe. She got up every day at 5 a.m, worked from 5 a.m. through to 3, to then go and pick us up from school, to then go and manage 3 children. She worked very, very, very hard all through that period of time. And I think what occurred to me, and this I do feel that this is actually quite important, is that what you see, you know, influences you. So if you've never seen being in a good position, you know, having lots and having wealth and being in that position, it's quite hard to even imagine being there. But I think at a young age, I'd seen it, it had gone, and I was like, hey, I've seen being wealthy, I've seen being broke, I know which one I prefer.
Right? Yeah.
You know, and I think that, and then as I was growing up, I had friends that I would go around their houses, you know, and one particular friend, a very good friend of mine back then, was a guy called Chris. He used to go in his house, he had a nice swimming pool, had a nice tennis court, lived in a beautiful home. Yeah. And I think something just clicked in me that, you know what, actually, I want this. I actually want to make sure that I have a nice life. Yeah. And at that stage, that didn't mean that I took action on it. I think that was just the seed was planted, right? Yeah. And because I'd seen what I prefer. So what kind of happened is that I didn't act on that at all. And actually, I was quite a rebellious teenager. I was a naughty teenager. I was terrible at school. I finished school at 15. I only took 1 GCSE. Yeah. All the others I got using. Like literally didn't get any GCSEs. I got 1 GCSE. That was in drama. I got a B. I was disappointed I didn't get an A. But like everything else was a U. You know, I was very rebellious. I hated school. Hated it. Hated school, hated learning. And it had almost been drummed into me that, Adam, you are a terrible student. I think the teachers drummed into me that you're a terrible student. And I didn't think that I could learn. I thought I was thick, to be honest. Right? And I think that a lot of people at school are having this. And really it depends on how the brain is wired. If you are more of a creative, it depends if you're left-brained or right-brained, right? Now I was more right-brained, so short attention span, very creative, but not academic at all. So I really struggled in a school environment and ended up leaving school, working menial jobs. I worked for my dad as a labourer initially, and I was terrible. Like I was the worst labourer you've ever seen in your life. You know, I hated lifting things and doing things, and I hated work at that stage.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like you go to work, you lift things around, you get knackered, you get dirty,
Yeah.
and I was just like, work is awful. I hated it, and that was kind of my first impressions. And then I moved on from working with my dad. I got my first job off my own back, which was working at KFC.
Yeah.
And do you know what the funny thing is though? I preferred that. I actually liked that. And I've always been a bit competitive. So even when I was making the chicken, I wanted the chicken to be nice when I made it.
Trying to make the best you can.
Yeah,
in your
like
environment.
even though it's just ridiculous, but that's what I was like. So I wanted to do well there. I had some ups and downs, and really my first breakthrough in my entire life was actually finding something that I was good at. Because up until this point, 17 years old, probably working at KFC, I'd never been good at anything. No one had ever told me I was good. I was rubbish at school, I was rubbish at work, really self-esteem very low, because you just think, all I thought I was good at was hanging out with my mates and going out drinking and stuff like that, being silly. But a friend of mine got a job at a company called Powerhouse, and this company, Powerhouse, sold TVs, washing machines, fridges, freezers, stuff like that. And in the end, he said, you should come and get a job. You'd love it, Adam, you'd be good at it. So I went for an interview. I didn't get the job. And 2 weeks later, they fired him, and I got a phone call saying, hey, you came in for an interview a couple of weeks, do you want this job? So I rang my friend, his name's Andy, and said, do you mind? He's like, go for it, I'm not bothered, I'm going to do it. Anyway, I went and did this job, and I absolutely loved it. For the first time I was working indoors, they had a nice coffee machine there, and the best bit was, they said to me day one, I went in, I was talking to this lady, Diane, and she said to me, Adam, this is how it works. You go and speak to the people, you go and build a good relationship with them, get along with them, and if they buy something, you get 5%, whatever it was back then. I was like, no, I'm already getting paid, I've got a salary. She's like, no, that's extra. So all of a sudden, I was incentivized, and I think it's more about control. For me, being in sales, I had the ability to influence, impact, and be in control for once. I could decide what I earned. I'd never had that ability before. And I went and did it, and I turned into the Tasmanian devil. I was running around talking to everyone, loving it.
So the more people you talk to,
absolutely.
the more opportunity you have to earn commission.
And I did that, and I was successful there. And that's the first thing I think I'd ever been really successful at. I won competitions, I got promoted, I won a national competition, and I fell in love with sales. And then I went over and I started working at Ford when I was 19, very young. I was the youngest person they'd ever employed in that environment. I had to get me special insurance to get me insured. And that's actually where I started to get into self-development for the first time. Because when I first went and worked at Ford, I was 19 years old. Everybody else was in their 30s. We used to sit in a row with like 12 people in a row. There was one phone in the middle. When it rung, you all had to fight to get the phone. I was the youngest there, and I realised I was a bit out of my depth. And I realised that if I didn't do something to improve, this probably wasn't going to last. And I think pride kicked in. I'm like, you know what, I want this. I want to be successful at this. So I started reading books. I started watching things, going to events.
Self-development books.
I read lots of different books. And then I realised that actually, I'm not a terrible student. I can learn if I'm interested. And what I was interested in was becoming better at sales. And really that paid dividends for me because I got much, much better. And eventually I did well there. Then I went on to BMW and, worked very well at BMW. I did some, in between that, I leased some private jets for Alan Sugar's company, did well there too. And I did these jobs and I started to get success and it built confidence. And the reason I'm a big believer in that confidence comes from competence. When you're good at something, anybody that's watching or listening right now, everybody's got something they're good at, right? And with that, they're confident at it. You give them it, they just go and do it. Now, I think for me, building competence in a skill set allowed me to go and do something well. And then I felt good and I made more money and all of a sudden my life started changing up until the point where I was about 25 where I started my first ever business.
It's amazing.
That's kind of...
what's fascinating about that, there's a lot of parallels with myself. That whole not finding school fulfilling, feeling like I wasn't academic,
That's
clever.
Interesting,
Being told you've got to get good grades to get a job. But thinking, well, actually, is that really what life's about? And I went into sales, and that moment I thought, actually, if I work a bit harder and a bit smarter than these guys around me, whatever the environment was, I can earn more money. Loved it. Sort of made me feel alive.
Very freeing.
Yes. Yeah. And actually then you realise that can be work as well, and then you try and find an environment that you actually enjoy. What's also interesting is you're now effectively teaching people that are actually incredibly successful. Yeah. And yet at school you hated being taught because you weren't being inspired and you weren't learning.
Ironic,
Isn't that ironic? That's what I was going to say. There's plenty of people that would probably have testimonials about you. Yeah. I learned so much from Adam. And
hundreds of them.
Speak to his teacher when he was 9. And they were like, really? Yeah. Which I think is compelling, and that's actually quite a common trait of investors I've worked with, successful people that I know. School wasn't for them. No. But if they can then find 100%. Their route to where they need to go, you can 100%. Be successful. Success is an interesting one. So the 11-year-old that was aspiring to have wealth, having experienced it and then having it taken away, to then achieving the commission you earned, which must have felt amazing, literally successful at that time, to then where you're at right now. How do you define success?
So I think that this has been a moving definition actually for me. Yeah. And I think the more you grow, the more you look at different things. And I think in the beginning, when I started my first business at age 25. I started it very, very small. I built it into a £40 million business, and I had my ups and downs along the way, right? But for me, success in the beginning, let's make no bones about it, is about money. That's what I cared about.
I appreciate honesty. I can parallel that. 100%. Yeah.
That's all. The first part of me was like, I haven't had money. I want to have money. I want to be successful. I think the bad trappings of success, like I wanted nice cars. I wanted to live in a mansion. I wanted these different things. They were the things that definitely drove me during my first business. And you know what? I got them. I did go and buy a mansion. Sure. I did drive Ferraris, Lamborghinis, different things like that. And now, to be truthful, I couldn't care less about any of that stuff. It does not matter to me. I don't really care where I live. I don't care what I drive now. Yeah. So I think I've really changed. Yeah. And a lot of that change, I think, becoming a dad really changed me a lot and really made me wake up that actually it's not, this stuff isn't the most important stuff. 100%. And I think that really, really did have an impact on me and changed me. I think that actually start working in this business that I work on, the money follows making other people successful, and we're powered by their results. Yeah. So now I don't ever consider or think about money. I just say, how can I get somebody to create great results? And I know that the money follows that, so you don't have to worry about it, right? Yeah. It's just a byproduct of doing a good job. So now really for me, success is, I want a great business. I want, and I do earn really good money. That's important, but I want to be a great dad. I want to enjoy my spare time. I want to have time freedom to be able to do what I want, where I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. And that is for me where I am, and I do consider myself to be successful. Yeah. And that's great. And actually, one of the things that Mum said to me a lot of the time is, Adam, you never celebrate, you never wake up and smell the roses, ever, right? Certainly for the first decade. That's because I always wanted more, but I don't now. I'm happy and, content with where I am, which I think is a really good place to be, actually.
100%. Well, you've mentioned happiness, who you want to do things with, when you want to do it. Yeah. That ultimately is got to be success. Yeah. You have a lot of people that come to you striving to be successful. Yeah.
So I'll comment on that.
Yeah, that's okay, because I feel their trajectory is to basically, I just want to make money. Yeah. And you can see it further down the line where you can help them do that, but mentor them into the whole, just be aware it's not all about.
Yeah. So when I first started my training business, and training business owners, big business events, I thought that everyone coming through the door would be like that, driven by money. But actually, it's very, very different. You've got different drivers. So there are some people that their main driver is more driven from pain. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel frustrated. I don't want to have cash flow issues. So they're more driven by actually getting out of that pain of business being really stressful for them. Sure. And that's their main driver. Then you've got some people that come to you and their definition of success would be, I just don't have to worry about money. That would be not I want loads of it, I just don't have to worry about it. So that's their definition of success. Then you've got other people's definition of success is, I just want to spend the weekend with my family without my phone ringing. Like literally, I want that balance.
Yeah.
So that's another definition. And then you get some people that want to build an empire and they won't be satisfied if they don't.
Yeah.
But we get all different types of people. So I guess success is, and I think this is something people can get in tune with. And almost I'd say to the people watching, think deeply about what your definition of success is. Because if you don't, what you can do is you can go and spend a long period of your life, put a lot of time and a lot of effort into something and end up in a place that you didn't want to be in the first place.
Yeah.
Where if you actually get really clear on what looks like success for you, then it's much, much easier to create it. And I'm a big believer in, look, what we can picture and vision in our mind, we can hold in our hand. And the reality is
manifesting.
Yeah, well, you've got to, it's got to be here first in order to be here. You know, it's going to come from you. We are our thoughts, what we think, what we want to create.
Yeah.
So for me, if somebody's watching and they want to be more successful, the first thing you've got to do is get clear on what that definition is.
Yeah, because there are people that achieve what they think is success and get there, and it's almost a false dawn.
And I think in this world today, with social media, mental health we've talked about as well, is that somebody else's definition of success should not be your definition of success.
No.
You should be clear on what it is for you, not worried about what somebody else tells you it should be.
Yeah, and social media is interesting because it's huge now. I mean, it's huge, and I've got 11 and 13-year-old, two daughters growing up, and if it's watching and or actually using some of it as a creative tool, there is so much pressure to look like the people that are on there, to act like them, and of course this goes back to what is success. But actually, you're very much in the space of harnessing social media to monetize it, to be creative. So there's a lot of negative kind of associations with it, but actually, your side of it,
definitely,
you're massively promoting that and making use of it.
So the principle is very simple, actually. If you want to grow any business, if you want to be more successful in business, you can take any business owner, any business. If you increase the amount of conversations they have, you increase the amount of opportunities they create, you increase the amount of leads they get, you increase the amount of sales. So it really drives from the base foundation of conversations.
That makes sense.
And then how many conversations you're having. So, you might say you're running a business, you're speaking to 10 people a week, you're then creating 10 opportunities, which might lead to one, which might lead to no deals. You're not speaking to enough people. You start speaking to 10,000 people a week. Of the 10,000 people a week, you're going to start to get more leads, you can start to do deals, you're going to make more money.
Yeah. And grow
very simple. And grow a network, grow a business, grow a list.
Yeah.
Everything is driven from that. So the way that I see social media for business is very different from what I see it from a personal individual. Business, using social media for business is really about how do you take your message that you create around your USP, around your products, around your services, how it's going to help somebody and who that person is, and get that message to market.
Yeah.
And then get that message to market consistently, with velocity, with speed.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, and you can go and create a lot of opportunities for business, you can grow a business. So the real opportunity with social media for a business owner is the opportunity to speak to the masses.
Yes.
That's why I love it, because
it's a huge audience.
Yeah, there's billions of people.
Yeah.
So you can speak to the masses. This is what I love about business now, is that you start a business tomorrow. Say you started a business 20 years ago. How are you going to go and speak to 100,000 people a week?
It's endless networking.
Yeah, endless networking, TV, maybe newspaper ads, radio, whatever it is. Tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of pounds. Right now, in your pocket, you've got the ability to go and reach a mass audience, and you have the same advertising tools available to you as Coca-Cola or Nando's or anyone. Right? You've got access to that. It's just, do you know how to use it or not? Yeah. So the way that I see social media, it's mass conversations.
Yeah.
And then from a usage point of view, use it to build relationships and talk to people, not to consume or worry about what other people are doing.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Yeah.
What do you think is your greatest strength?
So my greatest strength. So I think I am resilient. I think I am resilient, and I think I'm resourceful. So you could break it down into skills. I'm a good marketer. I'm really, a good salesperson, good at marketing. I'm good with people. So I've got a lot of good skills. Yeah. But I think the bottom line is actually I'm resilient.
Yeah. It's a good skill to have.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I've had ups and downs, but I don't let things stop me.
No.
You know, and I always find a way. And then if you add the resourcefulness to that, it's like if I don't, it's ironic 'cause we were just talking about this. Whenever I don't know how to do something, I just go and find somebody that does. I go and learn from them.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I open my mind. I find out the answers.
Yeah.
And that resourcefulness has definitely helped me over the years in a big way. Because when we were just talking about AI a moment ago, right?
Yep.
You know, when AI came out very recently, you know,
Sure.
6 months, would depend on when this is aired.
Yeah,
But, right, you know, but when it first came out,
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I know this is big. I know there's an opportunity here, and I just threw myself into it, and I wanted to know everything.
Yeah.
Because I knew that there was a big opportunity there, and I can absorb information very well,
Yeah.
and I think that actually would be one of the skills that I would say I'm strong at, is being resourceful.
100%. And to counter that, what would be your greatest weakness?
So I've got a lot of weaknesses, right, as well. My greatest one, I think that patience has often been something that I've had to learn to get better at. I don't know if it's my greatest weakness. Perhaps you should ask my...
Holding yourself...
or you should ask some of my staff.
Holding yourself back, though,
Yeah,
potentially, when you're just trying to headbutt the horizon.
Yeah, I think patience is one. I think one of the things I struggled in the beginning in business was in management, actually. I wasn't a good manager. And again, I think that's linked to patience, actually. And I struggled with that because I wanted to drive results and drive things quicker than it was possible to drive them. So I think that has been a problem, but I also think that it has helped me to get good results because I don't settle, I push, I'm driven. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I've got some others.
Oh, absolutely. But what I like as well is that what is actually your perceived greatest weakness can be turned into a strength. Like, you know, you've probably been impatient. You've probably failed, messed something up that has then, you know, you learned something from that to then be better for it with what you're doing. So the weakness that was like, I can do this, push, and then not ready. Yeah. You're ready for the next.
Absolutely. I think no one creates any real level of success without having some ups and downs and some failures, right?
100%.
You know, and I've certainly had that along the way.
Yeah.
I think every successful person I've ever known or interviewed or spent time with has too.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big thing where a lot of people don't ever actually go and create the life of their dreams or their version of success because of that fear. Yeah.
I've learned loads talking to you, and I can't believe some of the parallels. You know, just especially someone who is has got that much experience of mentoring and teaching people, but actually, you know, didn't enjoy school. That now can pass on an education that, in the nicest possible way, is probably far more relevant, particularly in business. But they're all life skills as well. So I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, been brilliant. Thanks very much.